The receptionist's voice was sharp enough to cut glass. "Ma'am, this club is for members only. You'll need to leave." The room went silent. Only the sound of water trickling from a marble fountain filled the space. A black woman in her late 30s looked up from her phone. Her posture calm, her tone measured. On that phone rested decisions worth millions. Contracts, mergers, people's futures. But right now all anyone could see was a woman in dark jeans and a cream sweater who, according to them, didn't belong. Around her, whispers bloomed like poison. "Who let her in?" someone murmured. "She must have wandered in by mistake," another voice followed. Security began to move. The receptionist, a woman named Lily, smiled without warmth. "You'll need to leave before this becomes embarrassing." Embarrassing. That word hit harder than intended. What Lily didn't know was that the woman sitting quietly before her, Maya Brooks, wasn't lost. She wasn't trespassing. She owned the building. Every marble tile beneath their feet, every chandelier hanging above them, every paycheck signed for this luxury spa's staff, all bore her company's name. But for the next 12 minutes, no one in that lobby would know that. Maya glanced at the clock on the wall. 12 minutes. That was all it would take for a chain of events that would end careers, trigger lawsuits, and rebuild an empire from the ground up. But first, she had to endure humiliation in public, an experience that would test every ounce of her patience. Have you ever been treated like you didn't belong? Not because of what you did, but because of what you looked like. Maya was living that moment, and she was about to turn it into the most powerful lesson of their lives. The spa sat on the 48th floor of a glass tower in Midtown Manhattan, overlooking Central Park. It was called Eden Retreat, a name chosen to evoke purity, exclusivity, perfection. The air smelled faintly of eucalyptus and money. Maya sat waiting for her appointment, or trying to. She checked her phone again. Her assistant had confirmed it. Maya Brooks, 2 p.m., full session, private suite. Lily approached again, her heels clicking like a countdown. "Excuse me, miss. Are you sure you're in the right place?" Maya looked up slowly. "Yes, I have a reservation." "Under Brooks." The receptionist frowned, her polished nails tapping across the keyboard. "I don't see that name anywhere. And we have a very strict dress policy here. Most guests arrive in formal attire, not denim." The words were sugar-coated, but the poison underneath was clear. Across the lobby, 2 women in silk robes exchanged glances. One whispered loud enough for Maya to hear, "Security should handle this." Maya didn't move. Her expression stayed calm, but her mind was cataloging everything. The stares, the smirks, the exact words spoken. 9 minutes left. From the back office, a man emerged. Tall, middle-aged, wearing authority like armor. His name tag read Greg Thornton, manager. His tone carried the kind of confidence that comes from years of deciding who belongs and who doesn't. "Ma'am," he said smoothly, "we've had some issues with unauthorized guests trying to access private areas. I'm afraid I'll have to ask you to leave." Maya's voice was calm, even gentle. "I'd like to speak with your director." "The director doesn't meet with unverified visitors." Greg's jaw tightened. "You can leave on your own, or we'll have you escorted out." From her phone case, a thin glint of metal caught the light. A platinum card embossed with the logo of Brooks Holdings, the same company that owned this spa chain. But Greg didn't notice. He was too focused on removing the problem. "The only misunderstanding," he said, "is you thinking you belong here." A woman across the room pulled out her phone, eager to record what she thought would be a satisfying display of authority. 7 minutes left. Maya's phone buzzed quietly. A message from her company's legal department. "Discrimination complaint logged. Board alert in progress." She silenced it before anyone noticed, but a faint smile touched her lips. Her patience wasn't weakness. It was strategy. "Should I call security?" Lily whispered to Greg. "Already did," he replied. The tension in the room was thick now. Even the spa's tranquil music felt like mockery. A businessman near the window muttered, "People really don't know their place anymore." Maya heard him. She heard everything. Every word, every tone, every look. She stored it all, an evidence-proof motive. The elevator chimed. 2 security guards stepped out, firm and polite. "Ma'am, please come with us," one said. Maya stood, collected her leather portfolio, and nodded. Her expression was unreadable. Inside that portfolio were contracts that determined this spa's future. Papers that could erase jobs or create hundreds. I'll leave, she said quietly. But I hope everyone here remembers this moment. As she stepped into the elevator, Lily called after her, smiling as if she'd just won a small victory. Next time, maybe try somewhere more affordable. The doors closed. 6 minutes left. Maya was alone in the elevator, descending 48 floors in silence. She took out her phone, pressed one number, and waited. Legal Division, answered a voice. This is Brooks. Execute the discrimination protocol. Full scale. Begin immediately. Understood, ma'am. Are you sure? I'm sure. I want everything documented in the next 10 minutes. When the elevator doors opened, Maya stepped into the building's grand lobby, her heels echoing against the marble floor. She didn't look back once. Outside, the afternoon sun reflected against the glass towers. She crossed the street to a cafe with a clear view of Eden Retreat's entrance and sat by the window. From there, she could see the skyline and the floor where she'd just been humiliated. Her phone rang again. Miss Brooks, said her chairman, Daniel Price, his tone sharp. We just received a discrimination alert from the spa division. Is this accurate? Yes, she replied calmly. Assemble the board in 10 minutes. Conference room A. Maya, if this is about that spa visit, she cut him off gently. Daniel, in 15 years, have I ever called an emergency board meeting without reason? A pause. Never. Then trust me now. This isn't just about what happened to me. It's about what's been happening for years. She ended the call, opened her laptop, and began typing. Each keystroke was deliberate, precise, unstoppable. Outside, the city moved as if nothing had happened. Taxis rushing by, people crossing streets, lives continuing. But in 12 minutes, the entire system that had humiliated her would begin to collapse from within. And it had all started with one quiet woman in jeans, sitting in a lobby where she didn't belong. The spa's waiting room above had returned to its polished calm. Lily adjusted brochures that didn't need adjusting. Greg stared at his computer screen without reading a word. They thought the storm had passed, but it was only beginning. Across the street, Maya watched from the cafe window, her coffee untouched. Her reflection merged with the spa tower's glass facade. She could still see the same floor where she'd been told she didn't belong. Now she was watching their downfall start to unfold. Her phone vibrated with messages. Social media spike detected. Keywords, Eden Retreat discrimination member incident. Then another notification. Video uploaded. Staff eject woman for not belonging. The footage had spread faster than wildfire. Someone in that lobby had recorded everything. The internet had done the rest. Maya leaned back, calm and certain. Perfect timing, she murmured. Inside the spa, chaos was beginning to bloom. Lily's phone buzzed nonstop. People are tagging us online, she whispered. The comments are getting worse by the second. Greg's face lost its color. Just ignore it, he snapped. It'll die down. But it didn't. Posts multiplied. Just watched a black woman get thrown out of Eden Retreat for no reason, one read. This is what privilege looks like, another wrote. The hashtag Dar Eden Retreat exposed hit the top of the local trending list in under 10 minutes. Meanwhile, in her office 5 blocks away, the company's communications director, Elena Ruiz, stared at her analytics screen in horror. Mentions of the spa chain had surged by 600%, and every single one was negative. She dialed Greg. What happened? She demanded. Greg stammered. It was just a misunderstanding. The woman didn't have an appointment. Her name? Elena asked. Maya Brooks. The silence that followed was long enough to curdle the air. You mean the Maya Brooks? The CEO? Greg's hand went cold. What? Back in the cafe, Maya's assistant Jennifer joined her, breathing fast. It's everywhere, Maya. Every major outlet is talking about it. Good, Maya said. Now let's make sure they have the facts. She opened her laptop, her screen filling with live updates from the company's monitoring system. Comments, shares, news alerts. She was tracking the collapse in real time, not for vengeance, but for evidence. Jennifer hesitated. Do you want me to issue a statement? Not yet, Maya said. I want their reactions unfiltered. Let them show the world exactly who they are. In the spa lobby, phones rang relentlessly. Angry customers demanded refunds. Memberships were being canceled faster than they could process them. Lily was crying. Greg barked orders that no one followed. The marble calm of Eden Retreat had turned into a panic room. At the top of the building in the corporate offices, the regional director, Patricia Holt, had joined the crisis call. "Greg," she said, her voice thin with fury, "I just watched a video of you telling a paying customer she didn't belong. Do you realize who that was?" "I didn't know," he stammered. "I swear I didn't." "You didn't know because you didn't care to know. Because you assumed." Her words sliced through the static. "You've just cost this company millions." Maya's phone rang again. It was Daniel, the board chairman. "The directors are assembled," he said. "They're waiting for you." "Good, tell them to stay seated. This is going to change everything." She stood, closed her laptop, and walked toward the building she owned. The street outside buzzed with the noise of a city that didn't yet know it was about to witness a corporate reckoning. Inside the elevator, as she rose floor by floor, she thought of every moment she'd stayed silent while others faced what she'd just endured. Every time she'd told herself that change would come eventually. But eventually was never soon enough. When the doors opened onto the executive floor, the air was heavy with tension. 12 directors sat around a long mahogany table. The city skyline glowed behind them, vast and indifferent. They expected a CEO's report. They didn't expect a revolution. Maya walked to the head of the table, set down her leather portfolio, and spoke quietly. "What happened today wasn't an incident. It was exposure. It showed us who we've allowed ourselves to become." The directors looked uneasy. One cleared his throat. "Maya, we understand there's been a misunderstanding." "This wasn't a misunderstanding," she interrupted. "It was discrimination. And it was recorded. It's already viral." The room fell silent. Maya tapped a key on her laptop. The main screen lit up with social media posts, comments, and headlines scrolling like fire. "Every one of these messages," she said, "is a mirror. It shows the world's perception of us, entitled, blind, careless." Another tap and financial graphs appeared. "In the last 30 minutes, we've lost nearly $300,000 in annual revenue from canceled memberships. By morning, that number will triple." Daniel exhaled slowly. "What do you plan to do?" "What I've always planned to do," Maya said. "Hold people accountable." She opened a document titled Emergency Governance Directive. "Effective immediately, I'm initiating full corporate reform. Terminations, retraining, oversight, transparency." One of the directors frowned. "That's drastic." "What's drastic," Maya replied, "is a company built on luxury turning away people based on appearance. What's drastic is staying silent and calling it professionalism." She clicked again, and the room filled with the sound of the recording. Lily's voice, Greg's tone, the words that had stripped away her dignity. By the time it ended, no one spoke. The weight of the truth pressed against every wall. Maya looked around the table. "That was me," she said. "Your CEO. The woman you trusted to lead this empire. And that's how your staff treated me. Imagine how they treat people without power. Silence. Pure, shameful silence." She stood, her voice steady but colder now. "We're not fixing a customer service issue. We're rebuilding a culture, and it starts tonight." The directors could only nod. The clock struck the 12th minute. Down below, the spa's phones kept ringing. But now they weren't taking calls. They were taking consequences, and Maya Brooks, the woman who had been told she didn't belong, was about to make sure every single person who judged her learned exactly who did. The following morning, the city woke to headlines that lit every screen from breakfast tables to boardrooms. Luxury spa faces corporate backlash after discrimination scandal. CEO secretly humiliated at her own company's facility. By the time sunlight hit the 48th floor of Eden Retreat, the building felt like a cracked mirror, still beautiful, but now reflecting guilt from every angle. Maya didn't return home that night. She had spent it drafting new policies, speaking with legal teams, and collecting statements from employees who had remained silent too long. The evidence-filled folders stacked neatly on her desk. Every complaint ignored, every bias overlooked, every small cruelty that had been brushed away as policy. Her assistant Jennifer entered quietly, handing her a tablet. "You should see this," she said. On the screen were hundreds of messages from strangers. "I was treated the same way there. Thank you for standing up." My daughter saw that video. It gave her hope. Each message carried a piece of someone else's pain, and Maya felt every one of them. By noon, the board reconvened. The directors arrived looking uneasy, as if they were stepping into a courtroom rather than a conference room. The air carried the faint hum of tension and the steady rhythm of consequence. Maya began without greeting. "Last night I reviewed 18 months of records," she said. "There were 26 confirmed cases of discriminatory treatment at Eden Retreat. 26. Her voice was calm, but her tone cut through the room like steel wrapped in velvet. 18 of those were dismissed without investigation. 5 employees resigned in protest. 3 were silenced with settlements. Daniel shifted in his seat. "We didn't know." Maya raised a hand. "You didn't ask." She turned to the screen behind her where a visual timeline appeared, each incident plotted with precision. Dates, names, actions taken. The directors watched as a pattern emerged, impossible to deny. "This," Maya said softly, "is not just negligence. It's culture. And culture can't be cleaned with press releases." Her next slide displayed the faces of 3 employees, Lily, Greg, and Patricia. "Effective immediately, management at Eden Retreat is terminated," Maya announced. "Their authority ends today," the room murmured. One director whispered, "Public terminations? That's aggressive." Maya didn't flinch. Accountability always feels aggressive to those who are used to privilege. Jennifer entered the room and handed out sealed folders to each director. Inside were the new policies: bias reform, anonymous reporting, inclusivity retraining, and community reparations. A silence settled over the table as they read. Daniel finally spoke. "You're overhauling an entire division in one night." "I'm not overhauling," Maya said. "I'm rebuilding." She turned off the projector and let the city skyline take over the view again. "For years, people like me walked into places like that and were told we didn't belong. It stops now. Not just here. Everywhere we operate." Outside reporters gathered at the base of the building, their cameras aimed upward. The story was spreading like a tide, and for once the current was carrying truth. That afternoon, Maya walked into the spa's corporate branch office. The same polished hallways, the same glass walls, but this time no one met her eyes. The receptionist stood instantly, her voice trembling. "Ms. Brooks, Save it," Maya said softly. "You'll have time to reflect later." Greg and Lily were waiting in the meeting room, their faces pale and drawn. Patricia stood beside them, trying to steady her breathing. Maya didn't sit. She remained standing, tall and centered, her calm more powerful than any raised voice. "I want you to understand why you're here," she began. "Not for revenge. For responsibility." Greg cleared his throat. "Ms. Brooks, I had no idea who you were." Maya's gaze cut through him. "That's the problem. You didn't need to know who I was to treat me with respect." Lily spoke next, her voice small. "I didn't mean to offend you. I was just following what I thought was policy." "What policy tells you to judge someone by their clothes?" Maya asked. Lily looked down, speechless. Patricia tried to interject. "We can fix this. I'll organize retraining." "This isn't a workshop issue," Maya interrupted. "It's a moral one, and moral failures require more than retraining." She opened a folder on the table and slid 3 envelopes forward. "These are your termination letters. Effective immediately. You'll receive your final paychecks by mail." Greg's face turned red. "You can't just fire us." "I can," Maya said quietly. "And I just did." The door opened and 2 members of the security team entered, not the same ones from before. These guards were calm, respectful. They waited by the door as Maya continued. "You will not contact our employees or speak to media about this case. If you do, you'll face legal action. I'm not here to ruin your lives. I'm here to ensure that no one else experiences what you allowed." Lily's tears fell freely now. Patricia stayed silent, her expression hollow. Greg muttered something about ruining reputations, but Maya didn't respond. She'd learned that silence could deliver justice louder than words. As they were escorted out, Maya spoke one final time. "I want you all to remember this moment. The next time you look at someone and think they don't belong, remember that the person you're judging might hold your future in her hands." When the door shut, the room felt lighter. The air seemed cleaner. Jennifer entered quietly and handed Maya a cup of tea. "Are you okay?" she asked. "I will be," Maya said. "But we're just getting started." That night she walked the empty halls of the corporate floor, the city lights glowing through the glass. She thought of every person who'd ever been told to leave. Every whispered insult disguised as politeness. Tomorrow, she would announce a new initiative, a foundation to fight discrimination in workplaces nationwide. But tonight she allowed herself one moment of stillness. The empire she built had cracked open. But from its fractures, something stronger was taking shape, and she wasn't done yet. 3 weeks after the incident, the world was still talking. Every business journal, every podcast, every online forum was debating what had happened at Eden Retreat. Some called it the boldest act of corporate accountability in decades. Others called it reckless. But no one could ignore it. Maya had become the face of a new kind of leadership. Yet for her, this was never about fame. It was about correction. She spent those weeks buried in reform meetings, redesigning the company from the inside out. She sat in her office one morning, sunlight spilling through the glass walls, the skyline reflected across her desk. The screen before her displayed new data: customer satisfaction, diversity metrics, bias audit reports. Each number was a small victory, proof that change wasn't just a word. Jennifer entered with a cup of coffee and a hesitant smile. "The press wants another interview," she said. "They're calling you the woman who turned humiliation into transformation." Maya shook her head. "I didn't turn anything. I just stopped pretending." Downstairs, the first phase of her plan was underway: the Eden Reform Program. Every branch, every franchise, every subsidiary now faced mandatory review. Managers were being retrained. Employees were speaking up without fear. Anonymous reports poured in daily, some small complaints, some heartbreaking. Each one mattered. Maya's phone buzzed. A message from the analytics team. Public sentiment, 89% positive. Membership growth, 32%. Zero discrimination complaints in 3 weeks. She stared at the numbers and allowed herself a brief smile. Then she scrolled down to a message that mattered more than any metric. "I brought my mother to Eden Retreat yesterday." It was the first time she felt welcome in a place like that. "Thank you." The boardroom had a new atmosphere now. When Maya entered, every director stood. The weight of complacency had lifted. Daniel was the first to speak. "You've managed to turn a scandal into a model for reform. The numbers are proof." Maya looked at him, her tone quiet but firm. "This isn't about numbers. It's about people. If we treat this as profit recovery, we've learned nothing." They all nodded, understanding that her fire came not from anger but from conviction. In the weeks that followed, Maya expanded her reach. She launched the Equity Initiative, a $1 million fund to sponsor diversity and leadership across the hospitality industry. Other companies began to follow. Rival CEOs called her privately, asking how she managed the turnaround. She shared her methods freely. "Accountability isn't competition," she told them. "It's culture." Still, resistance lingered in quiet corners. Some executives thought the changes were too radical, that addressing social issues distracted from core business. One even dared to say, "It's a phase. It'll pass." Maya called for an open forum meeting. Employees from every level joined, from janitors to department heads. Cameras streamed the session live to all company branches. "I've heard people say this reform is a phase," Maya began. "But a phase ends. This is permanence." She paused, scanning the crowd. "Some of you think these policies were made because of me. You're wrong. They were made because of every person who's ever walked into a place like this and felt invisible. I'm just the one who finally said enough." A woman from the back raised her hand. "What if other companies don't follow your lead?" Maya smiled. "Then we'll show them what happens when integrity becomes profitable." Applause erupted. It wasn't loud or frenzied, it was steady, like the sound of faith being rebuilt. Later that evening, she walked through the rebranded Eden Retreat Midtown. The atmosphere was transformed. The staff reflected the city's true diversity. Guests greeted each other as equals. She overheard laughter, kindness, warmth, things no policy could fake. A young receptionist caught sight of her and hurried over. "Ms. Brooks, it's an honor to meet you. I started here last month under the new program. I never thought I'd see a place like this treat everyone with respect." "You changed that." Maya smiled softly. "No, you're changing it. Every person who chooses decency is part of that." As she moved through the spa, she passed the same waiting area where everything had begun. The same marble floors, the same soft lighting, but the energy was new. On the wall now hung a bronze plaque engraved with her favorite line from her grandmother: "Respect isn't granted by wealth. It's proven by how you treat those without it." She stood there quietly, remembering the sting of that day, the humiliation, the anger, and the resolve that followed. What had once been a wound was now a window, proof that pain, when faced, could become power. Her phone rang. The caller ID read Governor's office. She answered. Ms. Brooks, this is Governor Ruiz. I wanted to inform you that the State Senate passed the Corporate Equality Standards Act this morning. Your reforms inspired the draft. We're calling it the Brooks Standard. For a long moment, she said nothing. Then thank you. But don't thank me. Thank the people who spoke up. That night, news outlets everywhere carried the story. Not of a scandal, but of reform. The narrative had flipped. Eden Retreat had gone from a cautionary tale to a symbol of accountability. In the silence of her office, Maya looked out over the city lights. Her reflection blended with the skyline, a reminder that change wasn't built by one person, but started by one choice. And in that moment, she realized something deeper. Redemption isn't given. It's built brick by brick through every act of courage that refuses to accept the way things have always been. 2 years passed. The city had changed, the skyline sharper, brighter. So had the world of business. Across boardrooms and luxury suites, companies began whispering the same name with a mix of awe and caution. Maya Brooks' Eden Retreat had become more than a spa. It was now a global symbol of transformation. What began as one woman's moment of humiliation had ignited a movement that refused to die. The Brooks Standard had been adopted by 32 major corporations and written into the bylaws of several Fortune 500 companies. What used to be public relations now became moral policy. Maya's morning started before dawn. Her desk overlooked the river where she used to walk to clear her thoughts. Now her routine was quiet. Tea, soft light, and messages from leaders around the world asking for guidance. Japan wanted to integrate her inclusivity model into tourism. Germany wanted to adapt it for financial institutions. Even the United Nations had requested a framework proposal. But there was one letter that stopped her completely. It came in an unmarked envelope, handwritten in neat script. Dear Ms. Brooks, you don't know me, but I knew your mother. She worked as a cleaner at a wellness resort outside Atlanta 30 years ago. One day she was told to use the back door because the front entrance was for members only. She didn't argue, but I saw the look in her eyes. I thought you should know. That same building was bought by your company last month. You rebuilt it, renamed it, and you opened both doors to everyone. I thought your mother would have liked that. Maya set the letter down and looked out the window. Her mother's words echoed in her memory. One day people will learn that respect is cheaper than arrogance. That afternoon, she visited the reopened resort, now called Horizon Sanctuary. The scent of jasmine drifted through the air as she walked past guests of every background, chatting comfortably in the lounge. The manager, a young woman with braided hair and a confident smile, approached her. Welcome, Miss Brooks, we've been expecting you. Maya smiled. You're running a beautiful place. Thank you, the woman said. When we reopened, I told the staff that this wasn't just a spa. It was a statement. Everywhere she looked, she saw reflections of what could have been broken but was now whole. The receptionist greeting guests in multiple languages, the staff laughing together during shift change. Even the soft music seemed lighter, as if the building itself had been cleansed of its past. Later that evening, she gave a keynote speech at the Global Leadership Forum. The hall was silent as she walked on stage. No teleprompter, no script, just her voice. 2 years ago, I was told to leave a place I owned. I could have walked away angry, but instead I chose to stay long enough to rebuild what broke me. I learned that change doesn't start when you're powerful. It starts when you're powerless and decide not to stay that way. She paused, meeting the eyes of thousands of executives watching her. Every company represented in this room has a choice. You can wait for your scandal, your 12-minute reckoning, or you can change before the world forces you to. The applause was thunderous, but Maya's expression remained calm. Her purpose wasn't applause. It was momentum. After the event, a young intern approached her. Nervous but determined, she said, I want to build something like you did. Maya smiled gently. Then promise me one thing. Build it for the right reason. Build it so no one else has to feel invisible to be seen. That night, back in her office, she turned off the lights and sat in the quiet glow of the city. Her phone vibrated once more. An alert from the analytics team. Global Implementation Report. 47 countries, 312 organizations, 9 million employees trained under the Brooks Standard. For the first time in months, She exhaled and allowed herself to rest. The world wasn't perfect, but it was changing, and she had proof. She thought of that marble lobby years ago, the way silence had followed the words, "You don't belong here." Now that silence was gone. It had been replaced with conversations, reforms, and a ripple that reached farther than she ever imagined. In the stillness, she whispered a simple truth to herself. Every empire built on exclusion eventually falls, but one built on respect that lasts. Outside, the city lights shimmered across the glass, and somewhere far below, in another lobby just like the one where it all began, a receptionist smiled warmly at a customer who didn't look like anyone else in the room. And no one questioned if she belonged, because now everyone did. A year later, the world had moved faster than anyone expected. What began as a single confrontation in a marble lobby had ignited something that would not be contained by boardrooms or city lines. The Brooks Foundation for Equity and Accountability now operated in 59 countries. Her face appeared on magazine covers, yet Maya still disliked attention. She knew fame could fade, but change, real change, could not be reversed once people had seen what was possible. That morning, she woke to rain streaking across her office windows. Reports covered her desk, full of progress and numbers, record profits, rising employment, near zero complaint rates, and yet one file caught her attention. A single location had fallen behind, an overseas branch in London, accused of quietly returning to old habits. She stared at the report for a long time before closing it. "We fly tonight," she told Jennifer. By evening, she was on a plane staring at the city lights below. As the clouds swallowed the skyline, she remembered that humiliation always started in silence. She would not allow silence again. When she arrived, the London branch looked flawless: crystal chandeliers, velvet furniture, polished smiles. But behind the perfection, the air felt hollow. Employees stood straighter when they saw her, too straight. Fear replaced authenticity. Maya called a meeting on the spot. Every staff member, from cleaners to senior executives, gathered in the grand hall. Her tone was calm, but unyielding. "I came here because I heard whispers," she said. "Whispers that some of you have forgotten why this reform began." A manager tried to interject, but she stopped him with a look. "I'm not here to hear excuses, I'm here to see truth." Then she did something no one expected. She invited 3 customers forward. Each had filed complaints about subtle mistreatment. They hesitated, unsure whether to speak. Maya nodded gently. "You're safe here. Tell the truth." Their stories spilled out. Polite refusals at the front desk, quiet, judgmental looks, differential treatment based on accent or clothing. Every sentence landed heavier than the last. The staff shifted uncomfortably. Maya stood silent through it all. When they finished, she said softly, "This isn't about punishment. It's about honesty. You cannot fix what you refuse to face." Then she turned to the employees. Every company can post a code of conduct, but culture lives in small choices, in how you look at a stranger, how you greet a guest, how you make someone feel seen. If this branch fails that test, you fail the entire movement. The room stayed silent until one young employee raised her hand. "I saw it happening," she said. "I wanted to speak, but I was scared." Maya walked toward her. Courage doesn't mean no fear. It means speaking while afraid. And today you did. By the next morning, the London branch had dismissed 2 senior managers and reinstated its training program. When Maya left the building, dozens of employees lined the entrance, thanking her quietly as she passed. One of the guests who had spoken up stopped her at the door. "You didn't come here to punish us," he said. "You came to remind us who we are." She smiled. "Exactly." Back in New York, the foundation headquarters buzzed with energy. News of the London intervention had already spread globally. Other organizations began auditing themselves before she even arrived. The movement had grown beyond her. It had become self-sustaining. Late that night, she stood on the rooftop terrace of her building, looking at the skyline that had once been her battlefield. Rain clouds drifted apart, revealing stars scattered above the city. Jennifer joined her, holding 2 mugs of tea. "The world is different because of you," she said. Maya shook her head. The world is different because it was ready. I just lit the match. They stood in silence, listening to the hum of traffic below, the heartbeat of a city learning to be better. Her phone buzzed with a new message from the governor's office. Global Council for Corporate Ethics established. Chairperson, Maya Brooks. She laughed softly. It's never over, is it? Jennifer smiled. Change never is. As dawn rose over the skyline, Maya realized this was the true climax, not the firing, not the scandal, not the reform, but the permanence. Change had rooted itself so deeply that it no longer depended on her. In that moment, she understood that her 12-minute humiliation had been the spark for a global reckoning, a movement that turned shame into structure and fear into fairness. Somewhere, in another city, another woman in jeans walked into a luxury spa and was greeted with a smile that didn't question her worth. Maya closed her eyes, took a long breath, and whispered, "Now everyone belongs." The rain stopped, the world kept turning, and this time, it was turning right.